Let's start our academic session with esteemed speakers, and for this I request Dr. Hina Imtiaz to please come on stage.
Good morning everyone, I am Dr. Hina Imtiaz, working as Senior Registrar in Aziz Fatma Medical and Dental College. I welcome you all. I wish that this symposium will be fruitful in increasing our knowledge and enhancing our skills. Moving towards the scientific session, I would like to introduce our worthy speaker who is going to deliver a very important lecture on injection anatomy of face. Professor Dr. Mustahsin Bashir is a renowned cosmetic and plastic surgeon working as Professor of Plastic Surgery in King Edward Medical University. Sir is a graduate of King Edward Medical University and has awarded Fellowship of College of Physicians and Surgeons Pakistan in the field of plastic surgery. He also did PhD on adipose tissue derived stem cells. Dr. Mustahsin's research work on rhinoplasty, hand surgery and fat grafting has been globally acknowledged. He is a member of Pakistan Association of Plastic Surgeons, American Association of Plastic Surgery and Pakistan Burn Association. Kindly sir, come on the stage and share your valuable knowledge with us.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be part of this academic activity in my hometown. So I'm grateful to Professor Shahid Javed Akhtar for providing me with this opportunity to talk to you about applied anatomy of the face. Applied anatomy of the face with reference to injection of fillers. Okay. So moving towards our presentation. So our storyboard for today would be, as we will see, so why we need to fill the face? As we know that with age there is deflation and descent of fat. So we need to know about the facial fat compartments. So first we will be discussing facial fat compartments. Most of these facial fat compartments are either in the upper third of the face or middle third of the face. So next would be mid-face anatomy. We will be showing you a video. This will be followed by upper face anatomy, cadaveric dissection. And what is next? So what is the most dreadful complication? It is blindness, or less than that would be tissue necrosis. So there are certain facial danger zones. We will be discussing about those facial danger zones. And next would be a video showing you the 3D anatomy of facial danger zones. It is not only important to know the surface landmarks, but it is also important to know the depths, the layers in which these arteries are located. So this will be followed by the dissection. And last, I would try to demonstrate the practical tips to avoid these facial danger zones. So this would be our storyboard. So let's start. So facial fat compartments. Before knowing the details of facial fat compartment, there is one basic requirement which we should all know about face, that there are layers of different layers of tissue in face. Commonly we say that there are 5 layers. As we can see in this picture, this is a classical picture which most of you must have seen before, and we can see that there are 5 layers commonly: skin, subcutaneous tissue, and then musculoepineuritic layer, followed by deep fascia or deep spaces, and last is the periosteum. So this is a general outline of facial layers, but these layers differ in different areas. For example, in temporal region there are more layers, or for example medial canthus or the medial side of the orbit there are less layers, there are 2 layers. So this is generally 5 layers, but they vary depending upon the location of the face. Now why these layers are important? Because there are 2 facial fat compartments. One are the superficial facial fat compartments and the other are the deep. So superficial facial compartments, they are located in the subcutaneous tissue just under the skin. And there are deep facial compartments which are located deep above the periosteum or within the deep fascia which encloses these deep fat compartments. So after knowing these 5 layers and 2 important layers, subcutaneous and deep, so we will move towards the compartments. So these are the basically 32 facial compartments have been described. But you need not to know the details of all these compartments. So basically we can say that there are 2 types of compartments. One are superficial, the other are deep. So superficial facial compartments you can see there are on the forehead, then there are on the mid face, and obviously few on the chin. So few of these fat compartments they deflate over time. But 2 fat compartments, they don't deflate over time, and those 2 compartments are nasolabial and jowl. That's why we see over time that nasolabial fold becomes prominent, because the fat doesn't deflate, it only descends. And similarly jowl compartment. The rest of the compartments, they deflate over time. Okay, so this is the cadaveric dissection. You can see starting from medial to lateral, we can say nasolabial compartment, and then there is medial superficial compartment, lateral superficial compartment, and last is the lateral compartment which continues upwards into the lateral forehead compartment. So these 3 compartments, they are located just under the skin. So these compartments, they become important when there is deflation or descent of the fat. These fat compartments, though we can treat with the fillers, but these are the compartments which we can also raise, or we can also fill with the facelift, because these are the compartments which we most often dissect during the facelift, starting from lateral to medial. Okay, so as you will see in your next lectures, they would be trying to tell you, the speakers would be trying to tell you how to fill these compartments. So knowing just their location is important so that you can treat accordingly. So this is another diagram of those superficial fat compartments. These 5 compartments are important for the physicians treating it as for fillers, and as well as for us while doing facelift. Now there are deep facial fat compartments. Remember, these are located in the 4th layer. Now 4th layer is a continuous layer, but it splits at places to enclose the fat compartments. Okay, so they are again in the mid face mostly located. They start from the upper lid, that is they are behind the orbicularis oculi muscle. That the superior one would be called retroorbicularis oculi fat. The lower one would be called suborbicularis oculi fat, and it has again 2 components, lateral and medial. So when you are doing deep injection into the mid face, actually you are trying to restore the deflation or descent caused in these facial fat compartments. Okay, so these are the deep facial fat compartments, and as I was discussing with you, that they are located in the 4th layer. Here again you can see a close-up view. No, I was talking about the layers of the skin. So this is very important that in this area, point is shown in the it's working. So you can see that in this part of the face there are more than 5 layers. There are probably 7 layers because of these fat compartments. But in this area, as we would be discussing this, that in this area there are only 2 layers, skin, and underneath is orbicularis oculi. So there is very less margin of error in this area while you are filling. Okay, so this is to tell you about the different layers. Again, in this area you can see that there are only 2 layers, skin, and underneath is the orbicularis oculi. But in lateral area there are multiple layers. So you have more margin of error while you are filling the lateral side of the cheek, but you have less margin of error when you are filling the medial side of the cheek, because the skin is very thin and there is no subcutaneous fat or tissue there. Okay. So we would be, now there are layers of the skin as we have seen. So we can now see a volume up that. The volume up kar dijiye. This is basically mid-face anatomy. You would be seeing the layers. Skin has been removed. Now this is the subcutaneous fat. So this is the second layer. As we will be removing the second layer, we will be looking at the third layer, that is the smash layer. Okay, and below this mass there would be deep fat compartments. नहीं इसकी आवाज इसकी साउंड नहीं चाहिए इसको इधर शिफ्ट कर दें. There is an excellent description along with this video, so I wanted you to.
The midface has been removed. After the skin, layer 1 is removed. You're looking down at the superficial fat pads of the face. This, along with the orbicularis oculi muscle, forms layer 2 and 3 of the face.
Now, what you are looking at is this is the second layer of the face, but here you can see this is the orbicularis oculi and there is no fat there. Okay, so this is basically the second layer of the face.
We have made a evenly based flap of layers 2 and 3 of the face, exposing the deep fat.
Now, layer 2 and 3 has been exposed by moving this flap medially, and you can see that there is now, this is the deep fat compartment. They have been highlighted in different colors.
Face. As we look from medial to lateral, we can see the deep fat layers of the face. First of all, the deep medial cheek fat is seen. This deep fat layer is boundaried laterally by the facial vein. The facial vein separates from the facial artery in the midface, and the deep medial cheek fat sits between the facial artery and the facial vein.
This is the location of deep medial fat. And normally you would, the different people have different techniques of filling these, but practically speaking, you should not try to inject medial to this. You should only try to inject lateral and then try to move it medially by just massaging it. So it's always better.
This is the levator labii superioris elyphi muscle. Reflection of this muscle shows bone and the infraorbital foramen, which will be shown later.
This is the infraorbital.
Traveling inferiorly along the facial vein, we see the deep lateral fat of the face. Above this, superior to this, are the soup layers of the face. The lateral soup layer is shown in bluish dye. The medial soup layer has been injected with red dye. The lateral boundary of the lateral soup is the zygomatic ligament, which is formed with a small ligamentous attachment to the zygomaticus major muscle. Superiorly, this is a ligament, and inferiorly, this forms a dense adhesion, which is the boundary of the deep lateral fat of the face, which is shown inferiorly in green dye. The boundary of this laterally is the zygomatic ligament. Just below and lateral to this is the parotid-masseteric fascia. This is the deep fascial layer of the face.
Actually, this parotidomasteric fascia is the fourth layer. If you see skin, subcutaneous tissue, then superficial musculoactineurotic layer, and below it is the deep fascia. Now, these spaces are because of the splitting of these deep fascia. As they move medially, this deep fascia moves medially, it splits into enclose these deep facial fat compartments.
This layer is just superficial to the massive muscle. It is pierced inferiorly by the parotid duct. The parotid duct first comes out of the parotid gland, pierces the parotid-masseteric.
No, this parotid duct is within or deep to the fourth layer, and now it has started coming upwards or superficially.
Fascia, and then pierces the flexor muscle to enter the mouth opposite maxillary second molar tooth. A close-up of this space is seen. As we pan out, we can look back along the road of the midface. The levator labii superioris allophinated muscle can be reflected inferiorly and medially. The infraorbital foramen, the foramen of E2, is shown here. The forceps grab.
Normally, the surface anatomy of this infraorbital foramen is that it is along the vertical line, along the medial limbus of the cornea, a little bit medial or lateral to it, or you can say that if infraorbital limb can be divided into thirds, so it is probably most likely it would be at 40% from the medial this cancer. So medial 40% distance it would be located or along the medial vertical line of the corneal limbus. And in terms of depth, it is located deep to the muscles of the facial expression, or it is located deep to the fourth layer, just above the periosteum.
As this nerve travels medially, it gives a sensation to the lateral nose, the upper lip, the medial cheek skin, and the upper teeth. A close-up shows that this nerve has several branches. These anastomose with the fate.
So this brings us to an outline of the facial anatomy of the midface. Now at the end of this anatomy, I must revise it in brief, is that you should know the layers. There are 7 layers laterally, but medially as you move there are only 2 layers. And there is infraorbital foramina and nerve in this important area, and this is one of the danger zones, as we will see in our next video. Now coming to the upper face anatomy. In case of upper face, I have told you that there are basically 5 layers, but in the lateral side of the face, in the temporal region, there are multiple layers. And these layers are important because you can fill the temple in different layers. Either you can fill it in the subcutaneous tissue, or you can fill deep to the temporalis. So we will see how this anatomy here is different from now here you can see there are 6 layers. So this is skin and subcutaneous tissue. Third layer, that is superficial temporal fascia or temporoparietal fascia. This is basically analogous to the SMAS. This is third layer, which is in the rest of the face is also third layer. But difference here is that here the deep fascia that splits into 2, and there is an important fat compartment, that is this fat compartment which is above the temporalis muscle. This is mistakenly called as deep fat. This is actually not deep fat. This is quite superficial. It should be called suprazygomatic fat. So this is not lying deep, but this is lying superficial to the temporalis muscle. Okay. So that's why there are extra layers here. And this 4th layer, this 6th layer is the temporalis muscle. So here you can do your filler either superficial to this 3rd layer, that is within the skin and subcutaneous tissue, because there is an important artery and nerve runs in this area. We will see in cadaveric dissection as well. Or you can fill deep to the temporalis, and we will see how it is different and what is the benefit of of injecting in different layers. So now you can see this. So just at the outset, I must say that this is basically temporalis. You are seeing at the temporalis or the deep temporal fascia. Just beneath this is the temporalis muscle, and in rest of the face, this is the 4th layer. That is the deep fascia, which is enclosing rest of the fat compartments. Okay, and this one of the layers has been removed from the temporalis. So this is basically temporalis fascia or temporalis, and this is the fascia which has been reflected from the temporalis.
Aspect of the anterior portion of the temporal fossa. Another area that can be injected.
So this green area basically is deep fat, which is continuous with the deep fat of the G. So either you need to fill this fat,
but not easily stained, is into the fat of the temporal fascia.
this is what I was talking about. This is the suprazygomatic fat. This is not a deep fat. This is superficial to it.
This fat is encompassed by the deep temporal fascia. The deep temporal fascia is a single layer above superiorly and fossa, but down below it splits into two layers to encompass the pre-zygomatic fat. This fat is also called in the literature superficial fat of the temple. Unfortunately, this is a little bit of a misnomer because this fat is analogous to the soot fat of the midface, and of course, this is deep fat. For that reason, this fat layer should not be called the superficial temporal fat. A more accurate designation would be suprazygomatic fat. A second fat layer is present in the depths of the temporal fossa. This could be called deep temporal fat. This fat.
So again, just summarizing it, now you can see that there are 6 layers in the temple. So there are 2 fat pads. One is suprazygomatic fat, which is actually deep fat, but it is located in a more superficial position. And then there is another fat pad which is deep to this deep temporal fascia in this area, which is not stained well, but you have to fill it. So we will see that we can fill it in 2 layers, either in the subcutaneous tissue or deep to the temporalis. Now coming to the next part was the danger zones. Why we are trying to understand this anatomy? One reason is to know the locations of the fat compartments so that we can fill them in an appropriate way. Second is to know the depths of these fat compartments so that we are in correct plane. The next complication could be the blindness. So why blindness happens? Because there are danger zones in the face. And those danger zones are the ones where there is an anastomosis between the external carotid artery and the internal carotid artery. So there are basically 6 danger zones. Now you can see this is a simple picture, but you should know that just knowing the landmarks that its facial artery starts from here and goes up is not important. You should also know where it is under the muscles, where it is subcutaneous tissue, and where it becomes very superficial. And these are the danger zones because one would be here. So as I have told you that the most dreadful complication would be central retinal artery. Okay, so there are 6 areas where the filler or the embolus can go into the central retinal artery because of this anastomosis. So first danger zone is this area in the glabella. That is the first danger zone because supratrochlear artery and supraorbital artery they have an anastomosis with and through retrograde flow the filler can go back and into the central retinal artery. The second danger zone is this temple area. Because of 2 reasons, because of the different layers, because of the superficial location of the superficial temporal artery, and second is that this artery has an anastomosis with supraorbital and supratrochlear arteries. So again, this would be a danger zone. Third danger zone would be this area. Why this area is important? Because again here there is variable anatomy. So we should be knowing the takeoff of the superior labial artery, inferior labial artery, if there is any, and the depth in which it is, and the layers in which it is located. So this is again a danger area, and this is more so because of the soft tissue necrosis. The fourth danger area is again where the facial artery ends. Again this is because of 2 reasons. One is the location, and second is this anastomosis with the supratrochlear and supraorbital arteries. Fifth one is itself on the nose. So this area is again a danger zone because of its anastomosis with the supratrochlear arteries and because of the location. Because here there is not much space. It's a tight envelope, and if you over-inject it, there are chances of necrosis. And last but not the least is the 6th danger zone, which is the infraorbital. Again, because of its proximity to different arterial systems, and theoretical chance of retrograde flow into the internal maxillary artery. So there are very few reported cases with this, but still you should keep this in mind. So now coming to our last component of our presentation, that is the cadaver. So just have a look at it. And this would be most important. Why will be having a practical demonstration of how to avoid these danger zones.
Danger zones that have caused trauma zones, skin versus blindness, that's because of the crop.
Now the important thing here would be that you should be trying to note down the location or depth of the artery. Then you would see that these arteries are located deep, close to the bone. So if there are glabellar lines, you can always inject them in the dermal, subdermal plane, or just in the dermis using a low G filler.
Also, arborization between the blood supply, the nervous supply, and the ophthalmic and all of these have associations with that. The most obvious is the one that is the
Now you see these arteries are located deep onto the bone. So there is no danger in injecting in the just under the dermis or within the dermis. But as you go deep onto the bone, you are going to be in trouble. And secondly, the location is important from the midline. So these arteries are approximately located. This artery is located about 1.5 to 2 centimeters, and this artery is located about 3.2 centimeters. These are rough estimates, but you should be careful in this area to inject just in the dermis.
It's the supratrochlear vessel, and there's multiple branches of the supratrochlear vessel, multiple other branches. But here's one fine branch, it's the supraorbital with the supraorbital nerve. There's also multiple branches of the supratrochlear nerve. This always lies in the crease of the 11s. The key is they are deep. Never inject deep in this area with a filler. This is where it is anatomically. Supratrochlear is where the supraorbital is. So when injecting in this area, if you're going to inject, I do two things. I actually hold the area here so I'm obstructing potential backflow in this area, even if I'm injecting a superficial filler. You can inject safely a superficial dermal filler, like one of the hyaluronic acid fillers like Filatera or Restylane Silk, or a blended dermal plus. You can inject it in this area. Be very careful to do the subdermal and serial function, and hold that. And you can inject that area very safely. That's danger zone number 1. This is danger zone number 2.
So coming to this area again, you will see the location in different layers, and also its anastomosis with the supratrochlear and supraorbital artery. Now what they are trying to show is that they have reflected the skin and subcutaneous tissue, and we are looking onto the superficial temporal fascia, that is the third layer of the face. So here the superficial temporal artery runs in this layer. So here either we can inject above the superficial temporal fascia, that is just beneath in the subcutaneous tissue, or we can go deep into the just deep to the temporals.
You can see from this that the superficial temporal vessel, which classically is described as coming up more here.
So this artery, this is the superficial temporal artery, skin and subcutaneous tissue has been reflected, and this is running within the superficial temporal fascia. And this artery does have an anastomosis with the supraorbital artery.
The anterior branch, which follows and correlates well with the superficial frontal branch, is about just a centimeter and a half from the bottom eyebrow, is arborizing, and it is in a fairly superficial plane. So the key here is this can arborize, and it looks like it is potentially with supraorbital supratrochlear, and that's another pathway for retrograde flow. So again, if I was injecting, I would inject in this area, and I would be very superficial in this area, unless to understand pathway.
This is the third facial danger. This is again very important, and you would see that facial artery is in some areas it is under the mimetic muscles, then it becomes superficial, and just around the ala it becomes very superficial. So while filling the nasolabial fold, you can follow these 3 points.
Or the facial artery, which really is very.
Here you can see that facial artery is quite deep. It is along the bone, then it becomes underneath the mimetic muscle, but as it approaches the angle of the mouth, it becomes superficial to the mimetic muscle, but still deep to the subcutaneous tissue. So here you can always fill in subcutaneous tissue, but here it becomes very superficial. So here you should always go to the bone.
Variable, but as it comes deep from below the subphysical area, on anal mandible, it arborizes, and it's very typical, as you can see here, where it's arborizing across the mandible, this area, and it stays deep to the fat planes until about the commissure, and then it becomes more superficial. It stays below the magnetic muscles till about the commissure, and it usually comes out about a finger breadth out to the commissure. But then it becomes in a much more superficial route. And look, here is the superior labial vessel, right? And where does that arborize? That always goes here. And see, that arborizes here. But even though it comes up from below the magnetic muscles, it's still fairly deep. There's a subcutaneous plane where it's safe. Really rapidly from deep to the magnetic muscles, more superficial, the deep subcutaneous soft tissue plane. And the other base is fairly superficial. The area the other base really cannot inject superficial. You inject superficial here, you get in trouble. So if you're injecting like I'll inject the filler in nasal lymph node below 2/3. I'll go to subcutaneous, but in this area, I'll go deep. Then oral is more superficial filler regardless. Because this is a real, in this area, you can knock out your cheek, your base, and then also you can go retrograde up here as well into the ophthalmic. The nose is a very massive.
Again, in nose, probably nose is one area which is the results are excellent if you inject properly, because there is a hard base underneath and there is tough tissue around. So if you fill it appropriately, the contours you get are excellent. But on the other hand, this is the most feared zone of fillers because of the dreadful complications. But recently, if you follow the principles as we will discuss in details while we will be talking about the practical demonstration, so you can learn the art of injecting into the nose. Here the problem is that there is a danger area because of the anastomosis with supratrochlear, supraorbital arteries, and secondly the location. If you over-inject it, the play is very less. So the compliance with the tissue is low. So there are chances of pressure necrosis.
And most of the vascularity is in the superficial plane. The blood vessel is very facial vessel. Lateral nasal branches comes up above the inner groove in this area right here. And then it arborizes with triangular branches. And they're usually paired in a branch off of the labial vessel in the area of the triangle. But the most important germane anatomy is that it is very superficial. So all of the safety in the nose is below the substance layer of the nose.
In nose, the vessels are superficial above this mass. So if you stay onto the periosteum or onto the perichondrium, you are going to be safe, provided that you inject minimally and you don't play with the compliance of the tissues. Okay? And there are two safe zones. Here there are multiple vessels in this area. This area is safe if you are onto the bone, and this area if you are onto the perichondrium.
The vascularity of the nose is up in the ratings. So there's more new branches that are external nasal branches. They're also superficial. So it's very important not to inject superficial in the proximal third of the nose. The middle third of the nose is a safety zone. The distal third of the nose can be problematic because it's very thin soft tissue layer and it's above the pericardium. So you have to stay deep. So danger zone at the tip, middle zone is safe, proximal third is also a danger zone because of the arborization of veins and arteries, specifically
This will be clear that this proximal third is danger if you are danger zone if you are a superficial, This is also danger zone because of the tight tissue and if you are superficial. But in this area, in the middle third, you can come little bit superficial.
As well as the angular vessels as they arborize up in the surface area. So the safety zone is staying. You see there the mobile area that's really massive in those. And if you're going to go deep in this area, you have to go on either a conduit or perhaps material punctures, massage, touch up with the
And another important tip in the nose is you should never miss your midline. You should always try to go through midline, and then you can, once you are onto the bone or onto the pericardium, then you can move left.
For oral nerve in these vessels. It is an important danger zone because it is deep and it lies between the medial limbus and the midpupillary area, just below the orbital rim within a finger rest. So always inject below the orbital rim, away from a finger breadth below that area, and lateral, not medial.
So in the last we would be having, if we have a model available, we can always have surface landmarks, we can always discuss it. Or if you have any questions, you can ask me at this moment in time. I have taken these videos and this material from few of these articles which have made me wise, at least while I am injecting. I feel more confident after going through these details. This last video is by Rod Rohrig, who is also editor of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery Journal, and I have the honor to discuss this with me, and he actually referred to me this article, and with his permission I have used this video to show you in this symposium, because I thought that this is one of the videos which made me wise, so I tried to share my knowledge with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for such commendable and comprehensive lecture. We are grateful to you as you spare time for this symposium despite being busy for a conference in Lahore. As sir has to leave for his further commitments in Lahore, I request our guest of honor, Professor Dr. Sahibzada Noor, Professor of Dermatology, Lady Reading Hospital, Peshawar, and our worthy chief guest, Senator Dr. Humayun Mohammed, who graced the event with his kind presence. Sir, kindly come on the stage. Professor Dr. Arif Man, Professor of Dermatology, Faisalabad Medical University, and Professor Dr. Sajid Sheikh, kindly come on the stage and give momentum to Professor Mustafa.
What we have already discussed in the video and in our lecture, just a practical demonstration of very few points. I will try to share my experience. It's not the one which is all the way recommended, but I have tried to reproduce what I have learned up till now. So coming to the facial anatomy, we can see that there are different facial fat compartments. One is in the medial fat compartment, one is lateral fat compartment. So while filling this medial and lateral fat compartment, as you know that this is a superficial fat compartment, and there are no vessels above this. As we have discussed that supratrochlear artery is about 2.5 or 2 centimeter from the midline, and supraorbital artery is 3.2 centimeter or 3 centimeter from the midline, or roughly we can say that it is in line with the medial limbus of the. And as regards glabellar front lines, if you want to fill them, here we know that the arteries are deep. So in this area, you would never fill superficially, you would always try to stay just under the dermis, and you should always put your thumb here so that there is least chances of retrograde flow of the filler. So this is all about forehead. Sorry, मैं फिर repeat कर देता हूँ. Just let me have a mark here. ये area है about. So इस area के अंदर the vessels are deep to the bone. So if there is a frown line here, and you want to fill it, you can just fill it under the dermis or within the dermis. With this, if you have to fill these medial and lateral fat compartments, the vessels now they pierce the muscle and then they pierce the subcutaneous tissue, and in this area the vessels are now in a subdermal plane. So in this area you can go deep to the bone, and again now you can use a high G filler and you can just massage it and you can fill it. Okay, so here superficial, here deep. Coming to the temporal area, now I have told you that so this is the pathway of the superficial temporal artery. This artery there is skin, there is subcutaneous tissue, and underneath is the third layer, that is temporal fascia. So this artery is running in that area. Now, if you have to fill this area, you can either stay above the superficial temporal fascia, and you can use serial puncture techniques, just putting your thumb here and filling it, so that less filler is required and the results are more obvious. Or secondly, you can go deep, just deep to the temporalis. There is a middle temporal vein in this area that is about 2 cm above the zygomatic arch. So if you are going to inject deep in this area, just stay 1 finger breadth above the zygomatic arch and go deep to the bone. What I do is, normally there is this temporal fusion line here. Okay, so I just inject in this area, I go to the bone because it is easy to go to the bone here, and then I move my needle laterally, so I am onto the bone. If you go from here to the bone, there are multiple layers, so you may feel difficulty in going deep to the bone. But you just puncture here and then move your move your needle laterally, so that you are in the supraperiosteal plane. But you should be careful that you are 1 finger breadth above the zygomatic arch. The problem would be that if you are going to inject deep in this area, you would need more filler to produce the result. Okay, and there would be danger of middle temporal vein. But if you are superficial in this area, the results would be more obvious with less filler, with this caveat in mind that the vessels are superficial and you have to stay superficial to the vessel. So this is in this area. Okay. Now coming to the mid face. We have already discussed that there are deep fat compartments and there are superficial fat compartments. So superficial fat compartments again are nasolabial, medial cheek, lateral superficial or malar compartment and medial malar compartment, and then there is a lateral compartment. So this is the lateral compartment, which we usually say as a just under the skin, because you are trying to fill the superficial fat compartments, and lateral to this the things are quite deep. But as we move medial to this line, which is along the this lateral canthus, the things become superficial. Okay. Again, filling this area, you have to fill the deep lateral compartment and superficial fat compartment. So both needs to be filled in this area. Other speakers will be demonstrating it in detail. So I'm just trying to tell you the surface anatomy. Now here probably if we try to the samne dekhiye. So along the medial limbus, here is probably the location of the infraorbital foramina. If you from the medial canthus to the lateral canthus, if you draw a line, so about the 40% distance is the location of the infraorbital foramina or infraorbital artery. So going medial to it is probably not advisable. You should always put your thumb here, so that you are injecting 1 finger breadth below the orbital rim, so that this artery or this infraorbital foramina is avoided. And if you are trying to go into the nasojugal groove, you should always try to enter from here, and you should stay deep to the bone, because here the arteries are quite superficial in this area. So here the arteries and vest nerves are superficial, lateral to it they are deep. These are general principles which you should keep in mind. There is no limit of knowledge. You should always try to keep you updated and try to read further. Okay. Now coming to this area of nasolabial area, this is again a danger zone. Here the facial artery is, if you can always feel the palpation of the radial artery along the angle of the mandible. So here it is deep to the bone. As it moves up, it is under the mimetic muscles. So it means in this area you can, if you need to fill. So If you know the whole of the anatomy, you can fill any area just keeping in mind the depth of the vessel or the location. So in this area, probably you can fill in superficial area. So, but in the middle of the nasolabial fold, the artery has come above the mimetic muscles but under the subcutaneous tissue, and here there is a thick layer of subcutaneous tissue. So in this area, you can inject in the subcutaneous plane. And again, as you are coming superficial, you should always use serial puncture or fanning technique or all other techniques. But as you move near the ala here the artery is quite superficial. So here you should go straight to the bone and you should try to inject deep. Okay? And as regards the labial area, this is again a danger zone. Here the facial artery is, if you can always feel the palpation of the radial artery along the angle of the mandible. So here it is deep to the bone. As it moves up, it is under the mimetic muscles. So it means in this area, you can, if you need to fill. So if you know the whole of the anatomy, you can fill any area just keeping in mind the depth of the vessel or the location. So in this area, probably you can fill in superficial area. So, but in the middle of the nasolabial fold, the artery has come above the mimetic muscle but under the subcutaneous tissue, and here there is a thick layer of subcutaneous tissue. So in this area, you can inject in the subcutaneous plane. And again, as you are coming superficial, you should always use serial puncture or fanning technique or all other techniques. But as you move near the ala here the artery is quite superficial. So here you should go straight to the bone and you should try to inject deep. Okay? And as regards the other danger zone, that is the labial arteries, you should know the location of the labial arteries. So they usually take off a finger breadth lateral to the commissure at a 45-degree angle. So like this. So this would be the 45-degree angle. So here it would be running in this plane. So in this area, it has not gone. To always keep your midline in mind. So this is your midline. So midline, in the midline there are no vessels in the midline. So you should always try to puncture through the midline. In the upper third of the nose, then it is vascular. The lower third of the nose, it is vascular. But here the vessels are subsmass, or as we move medially, they become superficial. So if you stay in the midline, you go deep to the bone and you inject on the bone, again serial puncture technique. Okay? So serial puncture technique, you can fill this area, you can fill this area, and there are multiple indications of fillers in nose which the rest of the speakers would be talking about in detail. So I think that finishes the कोई दीजिएगा इसको clean करने के लिए.